Welcome back to Hot Movies. Today, I will explain a romantic drama film in praise of older women released in 1997. Make sure to like this video and subscribe to our channel before continuing. The beginning of the film, the Spanish Civil War, broke out in 1936. A boarding school in the Republican area informed its students that the enemy army could arrive at any time, for which reason they would be sent home and the school would remain closed until the conflict ended. Andres was one of the boys who didn't like this decision. The students were instructed to avoid the city and not to bring up the name of their boarding school in public as soon as the principal and teachers left for their own houses. Meanwhile, Andres's mother was on trip in a different location, so he was unable to return to Gerona City. Because his mother was stuck in the beamy city, Andres was urged to return to Gerona. He was also instructed not to enter the city and was sent back. Because his mother was in an enemy zone, Andres was instructed to go see Jonah. Andres rode his bike to his Girona home and departed, glad that he would have some time to himself. But when he got to Girona, he saw that the city was changing, and when he got home, he saw that some outsiders were residing there. After a while, one of his friends, Manuel's mother, informs him that Andres's mother was accused of fascism by his building's guard, since she was a regular churchgoer. Ever since Andres moved into that house, and in addition, Andres's mother was fortunate to be distant from the city, which kept her secure from the wrath of those people. Later, when Spain was split into two halves and Andres wanted to visit his mother, Manuel's father told him to stay in his home instead of going to see his mother. But steadfast, Andres continued to ignore him, and that evening he began making plans to depart. The following day, when he rode his bicycle near the enemy zone, a few rebel members approached him in the middle of the street. After being brought before their captain Davalos, Andres informed him that his mother was a fascist, his father had died, and he wanted to combat fascism. Due to his hiding of the truth, Andres was assigned to work for a man named Honorio, who had an affair with a low-class woman named Pilar. It was while witnessing the two of them in their love that Andres first saw the beauty of relationships with elderly women. Andres had to abandon his boyhood during his stay in the camp and adopt an adult way of living, which eventually allowed him to blend in with the other camp residents. An Englishman with his American wife were once brought to the camp because they were concerned that the war could prevent them from being able to return to London. Meanwhile, Andres was the only one who could understand English, so he was assigned to a job of translator. Also, the Englishwoman Condesa was compelled to remain in the same camp, yet all she wanted was to go home. Condesa was upset about everything that was happening to her, but she knew that she wouldn't cause as much trouble at camp because of Andres's behavior. Following that, she befriends Andres, and when they spoke, she informed him that she wished to speak with Davalos in the same way that all the other guys in the camp did. Andres, meanwhile, was drawn to the attractive and wealthy Condesa. Later, Condesa approached Davalos, taking advantage of her beauty, and offered him an affair if he returned her passport. He accepted, and they had a close intimacy. At the same time, Andres began to forget about his mother while he was in the camp. He realized that some people did not want the war to stop, and that he could be killed if he ever attempted to enter the enemy zone. So when he went to meet her and gave her their passports, Andres saw Condesa in bed. He became attracted to her. In order to get to his mother, Andres asked Condesa to take him along. But because Andres did not have a passport, Condesa was unable to do this, which made Andres unhappy. When Condesa began to approach him, and they shared an intimate moment. The following day, she left for London, leaving Andres by himself once more. Seeing that Pilar and Honorio were having fun together saddened him even more. On that same day, Andres witnessed Davalos murdering two fascists, which caused him to break down in tears. Thereafter, he confessed to being afraid and stated that he simply wanted to visit his mother in the enemy territory, and that she wasn't a fascist. Later, in order to provide Andres with safety, a soldier brought him to his home in Barcelona. There, the soldier's wife began to raise Andres as if he were her own son, and Andre got to know his daughter Julia, who was upset by Andres's visit. She believed that her parents had always desired a son, which was why Andres had been brought here. Julia was forced to live with Andres against her will and began introducing Andres to the locals as her cousin. They were carrying some food back home one day when strangers stopped them. Julia feared they might be taken along by these people, but as soon as they learned that Andres was a member of the Davalos' battalion, they were freed. Andres impressed Julia, and she thanked him when she got home. They got close that day and began kissing, but Julia's mother caught them together before their romance could blossom. At that point, Andres was kicked out of the house. Later, in quest of employment, Andres reached a market where thieves and prostitutes resided. He made the decision to work as a black marketer in order to survive, and he began by selling his bicycle there. The woman he began purchasing food from was the same one Julia used to shop for groceries with. He attempted to visit prostitutes after beginning to make money by selling groceries, but he couldn't do that as he wasn't old enough. The war eventually came to an end, and the opponents of fascism were defeated. After a year, Andres learned that his mother Irene had been a part of the winning party in the war. Andres was released from prison as a result of his mother's measures, and when he finally saw his mother, they broke down in tears. Victor, who brought Andres to his new residence, lived with Irene. In the building where Andres would live with his mother, there was a woman named Marta, and Andres took a fancy to her right away. Although Andres accepted his place in this new country, he did not appreciate that his mother was working by the new administration as he opposed it. Meanwhile, Andres spotted Pilar, but he had to go back home with his mother, so he was unable to see her. A few days later, Marta and Andres became friends. Andres initially visited her house under the pretext of helping her, and it was then that he got to know her husband, Carlos. Andres was taken aback by Marta's home's abundance of books. Andres started becoming happy by getting lost in the books after Marta started giving him books. But the country's changing circumstances and his mother's fresh romance aren't allowing him to live a happy life. One evening, as Marta showed some books to Andres, she realized that he liked her. Marta similarly conceals Andres' attraction to her from Carlos, demonstrating her own attraction to him. Andres searched for Pilar for many days. When she finally located him, she was surprised to see that she did not know him at first, but then she recalled that Andres had once worked with Honorio when he was younger. She informed him that she was supposed to marry Honorio, but that he had been killed, and that she was now living in this city with his grandmother and son. After years of being unhappy, Pilar was overjoyed when Andres had sex to her and reveled that he had always liked her. Andres still had to go back to his life after spending out with Pilar. Victor informed him of his and Irene's desire to wed. Andres was not pleased to learn that following their argument with Victor, he once more became engrossed in Marta's books. With courage, he approached Marta and began to become close to her, leading to the beginning of their affair. However, he found out after a few days that Carlos and Marta opposed fascism, and when the truth was revealed, Carlos was taken into custody. When Andres confessed his love for Marta and expressed his desire to rescue Carlos, Victor tells him that if he attempted to do so, he would have to join his party. He had to accept his condition. Andres lost his happiness once more, but one night he met Bobby, an Italian woman, playing the violin, and they couldn't stop staring at one another. Andres went straight to talk to Bobby, and Irene was relieved to see them together as well. Andres had found the happiness he had been waiting for with Bobby's arrival. Nevertheless, they had to part ways the following day as Bobby had to leave for France. Ultimately, he witnessed Marta leaving town, and even though he wanted to, he was powerless to stop her. All the women Andres had ever loved had left him and disappeared, And he had no idea if Bobby felt the same way about him. But this time, he didn't want to lose her, so he made the decision to travel to France, where Bobby was waiting for him. After meeting her, he moved in with her permanently and joining Bobby's orchestra. And the movie ends here. Thank you for watching the video. Make sure to like and subscribe. See you in the next video. Take care.